All right, well, welcome to episode 21 here. I have my the first guest on the Scout Method podcast, Coach Erica, my boo. I'm telling y'all for weeks now, she's coming through. And we're going to start to talk about a whole bunch of different things, a whole bunch of interesting things that I think will provide some value for you all here, right? So, what was I saying? First and
That's
foremost,
because I'm sitting here.
welcome
Mhm.
to the podcast,
Oh,
dear.
thank you. Thank you. It feels good to be here.
Does it?
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, it's good having you here for sure. For sure. So, listen, for those of you who don't know, Eric and I met in a Walmart.
Wow.
And
Don't do it.
that's the truth.
Don't do it.
But that's the truth.
Tell the truth.
Okay, I'm gonna tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
And I
Whole
was
truth.
just a simple come on now. Let me explain the story to everyone.
It's about to be a lie.
What?
Go ahead.
It's not. We met in a Walmart, and I think I was just a regular cashier. She was the jewelry girl. She was the hot jewelry girl, basically. And I was going
Who's
through.
so far?
Oh man, you gonna let me?
Sorry. All right.
Okay. So, I was the cashier. I was the young buck. I was going through doing all these things and everything like that. And here she is in a jewelry counter. I'm like, oh, she's pretty. And I go about my business, right? So, it took about a couple weeks before she was trying to get my number,
Wow.
right? So
here's the lie.
Okay, well, can you let me finish
I'm sorry.
telling the story, please?
Yeah, go ahead, finish that
So
line.
she was trying to, she was all up on me. Like, she was pressing me. I was just like, yo, baby, chill. Like, relax. You know what I mean? We can be good friends and everything like that. You know what I mean?
They can tell us a lie. Just look how you tell the story.
Anyway, we ended up really cool friends for a while. Like, we were good friends for a minute before anything at all. And then she eventually revealed her actual love for me. And I'm just like, listen, I knew this from the jump, right? Like, you saw all this. You saw everything that I was, like, you saw it. So, yup. So that's how we met. And,
Okay, so we did meet in Walmart. That's the truth. But then,
is that the only truthful thing I said?
that's the only.
No,
Well,
it's
no,
not.
no, it's
No,
not.
it's not.
No,
You
no,
were
no.
feeling me. Don't
Hold on.
lie. Don't lie.
I said you were cute.
And you got my number.
And no, I didn't. I didn't have your number then.
How you get my number?
Somebody else gave me
How
your
you get my
number.
number?
Somebody else gave me your number.
So you went to somebody else to get my number?
Wait, hold on. Let me see if I'm backing myself in the corner. No, you. No.
I stand corrected.
I got your number from somebody else because I was looking for the little thing that you was doing. You was doing something, making cards, and I needed cards.
Nah,
being made.
she got my number because she wanted me to be in a fashion show.
No, I just went to your face and asked you that. It was face to face.
You're proving my point.
I know I am. Hold on. Let me think about it. Hold on. Let me tell my part.
You don't have a part. I told the truth.
My part is you saw me and was like, whoa, I need to marry her. And then, was like, hey, Erica. And I was like, no, sorry, can't. Not right now. You're thirsty.
Oh. First of all, ain't nobody was gonna tame this wild buck out here, right? I was no.
You were no?
I was no.
You was no.
No.
You were no.
So
it was love at first sight.
For you?
No. For you.
I don't know.
Like, you heard the birds.
I did not hear no bird. There were no birds chirping. There were no birds.
You heard
anywhere.
that?
That's why you kept trying to.
There
okay,
she
we could do this for an
is.
hour. I don't want to do this for an hour. Okay, that's
She
not
is
providing.
beautiful.
Okay.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. You
Okay.
heard yeah.
Okay. You done now.
Go ahead. I might think of something else. Go ahead.
Okay, don't. Okay.
Not think of
we
something.
have
I'm sorry, not think of something else. Remember.
No, we. I know, because you was making up your whole story. That's what I'm saying. Look,
Remember
look
something
again.
else.
I'm corrected again. Like, look. Look. I'm here. I'm right. This is my story.
Okay. We'll
Okay.
just have we have to have an episode of just how we met, just me. Matter of fact, just let me do it by myself.
You know what? People probably like that too. Like, no, we're not doing that. So, but I wanted to have you on the podcast and all that fun stuff, just because, well, for a number of reasons, right? You're also a fellow coach in the studio. You just recently got your certification. You're doing some big things with that. We want to talk about that. I mean, you've been married to me for about 18 years. That's a long time. I might need to. I mean, no, that's a long time. A wonderfully long time. Right. So
The
then you're
best time of your
also,
life.
yes,
Don't start. Go
absolutely.
ahead.
And then you're also a mother of
Mm-hmm.
two ridiculously cool boys, right? And and who you actually homeschool.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's a whole bunch to talk about there. There's a whole bunch of other things, but you also, and this is kind of where I want to hone in on. I want to start here because everything else is going to filter through this a little bit here,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because this, I think, tells the story pretty well. You've been dealing with a general autoimmune disease
Right.
for ever now, right? And I recently did an episode of the podcast called, well, Inflamed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I talked about inflammation and the causes of it and all that fun stuff. And I dug a little bit into just, how autoimmune disease can be a cause of inflammation,
Yes.
or different conditions pop up because of inflammation. So, I figured that would be a good place to start because there's a lot of information there, and you have a very detailed and maybe a vast history dealing
Yeah.
with autoimmune disease.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just start from the beginning here,
From the
right?
beginning. Okay.
When, where, what, how? Like I'll let you take that away.
I was 4.
So 4 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I was 4 years old when it began. I was covered in bruises. And at that time, they didn't really know what the condition was. They just knew something was wrong. Um, so I was in the hospital. They thought I was being abused. But come to find out that um, it was not abuse. It was ITP, right?
Okay.
So you get little petechiae marks, little red, purple dots on your body. You get bruises all over,
And what
right?
is ITP?
ITP is long form immune thrombocytopenia purpura, right? And that is right.
Yeah.
It before it was immune, it was idiopathic. Idiopathic was they didn't know what the cause was, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but they figured out that it was an immune system issue, like your immune system issue, right?
And so what does it do exactly?
Well, you don't clot, right? So, blood disorder, okay,
Okay.
ITP. Um, so it's hard for you to clot. So if you bump something, there's a possibility that you can bleed to death, right? So you don't have enough platelets.
Mm.
Okay.
So ITP is an autoimmune disease that
Mhm.
where your body produces these antibodies that I was talking about in that
Correct.
episode, and those antibodies attack your
Yep.
platelets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, got it.
So they can randomly, for me, can randomly attack, whatever it wants. And at this point in my life, at that point in my life, it was my my platelets.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
So and the normal count is 150,000 to 400,000.
Mm-hmm.
I was under 10,000 every time, which is dangerous.
Right, right,
Especially
right,
as a kid. Like
right.
imagine 4 years old up until, even what was it 10, highly active, those are dangerous times as a
Yeah.
child.
Now, did it restrict you from being as active, or you just at that time you just didn't? You just kept going about life, basically.
Kept going on about life because again, they didn't know much about it. It wasn't as
They, as in.
doctors.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. The doctors didn't really know much about it. I played as normal,
Mhm.
right? I don't remember going to the hospital as much when I was little. I mean, I was 4, but
Sure.
I do remember as I got older, there were a lot of hospital trips, transfusions, and just making sure that I am not doing things like volleyball, which I wanted to play, right? Basketball. So certain sports.
You wanted to play volleyball?
I did.
Oh, that's funny.
I wanted to play volleyball.
Ah.
And there was an instance, like I played volleyball in school.
Oh, but you probably was bruised all up.
Yeah, so my whole my wrists
Yeah.
were bruised up. My dad actually had to come and get me that day, from school and took me to the hospital. And yep, sure enough, it was just like they were low. So
Yeah.
she can't play any sports.
Yikes.
So I didn't play any sports really. I
Even
tried
though
to
you wanted to.
I wanted to, yeah. I wanted to go out for some sports, but
Okay.
couldn't play with the kiddos
Yeah.
as much as I wanted to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did prevent me from doing certain things, but again, I was a kid. So I got
Yeah.
into things and did things and ended up in the hospital, came back out, repeat,
And that was normal life.
it was normal.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your first big episode dealing with, because at that time it was strictly ITP, right?
That I can remember.
Yes, that you can remember. Right.
Yeah.
Look,
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, what was that first episode, that first point in time where it was just like, oh, this is a little bit more serious.
Yes. So so my mother and my father, they were not together. So I was with my dad around 8, 9 years old. Okay. But then I would visit my mom every now and again. And at this point, I was with my mom. I was visiting my mom, my brothers and sisters. And I didn't feel like I was sick or anything like that, but I was tired. So I was always extremely tired. Um, and just before I went to my mom's, I went to the doctor's office, got blood tests run and everything like that, and then went to my mom's house. My dad called my mom and said, immediately, like, have her sit down, don't have her move. I need to come and get her. And he came and got me. He explained it to my mom. He didn't explain it to me until we got there because he didn't want me to worry. He didn't want me to stress. But he's like walking me to the car and making sure I sit properly in the seat and buckle my seatbelt. So he's making sure I'm safe and I'm good. And he's driving, trying not to hit potholes or things like that. Why? Because they told him don't let her touch anything because she could bleed.
How old were you then?
I was about 9 years old.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So I was not like about 9 years old. And so he took me to the hospital. And I was actually in the hospital for 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
3 weeks. Yeah. That was the biggest episode.
I didn't know it was that long.
Yeah, it was 3 weeks. So
Yikes.
I had the transfusions. My parents were upset, arguing.
Right.
Because there was a lot going on and a lot of decisions had to be made at that point in my life. So because I can't keep traveling back and forth with this condition. So where am I going to go? And
Meaning, where are you gonna? Which parent you're gonna
what
stay with?
parent am I going to stay with? Yep. And my dad, I was going with him.
Yeah.
No matter what, I was going with him
Right.
because he wanted me safe and he wanted to make sure that I can get to my doctor's appointments in time and just that I'm good.
Yeah.
So he got full custody and I was with my dad.
Yeah.
And we just made sure that everything stayed good.
And that's the way your dad always was with
Yes.
you, no matter what, right? Like you were his like main objective, basically.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Like,
So,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's scary. I'm his only daughter,
Yeah.
right? And your daughter has a condition that she could just pass away at any moment, and you don't know.
Right.
He saw me tired. He saw me bruised. He saw me bleeding from the nose and couldn't stop it.
Yeah.
Right? It's for him, is he felt helpless. Like, I
Yeah.
can't do but so much, but I can get her to her doctor's appointment. I
Right.
can get her to make sure she's eating right and that she's doing what she's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Now sometimes he could be a little strict.
Well, it's also one of those things. Another thing, just putting myself in his shoes potentially, right? Like it's just like I think the another thought that he had was he could protect you,
Yeah.
right? He couldn't necessarily protect you from you, but he
Mm-hmm.
could protect you from anything external to you.
Mm-hmm. He did just that.
Yeah. So it's just like, and that's a manhood thing.
Yeah.
Manhood, recognize manhood on that
I understand that now with 2 boys.
one.
I understand a lot that my dad did and why he did it.
Yeah.
Very strategic.
That's your dad was cool. Your dad was he was a real one.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So that incident happened at 9.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, the majority of your life, it sounds like you dealt with ITP for the most part. But then it started to switch because that's not what we're dealing with right now.
That is not what we're dealing with right now. Like, come on.
Right.
Oh, relief.
Right.
Right.
So that's interesting. So you go through the process. You're in the hospital for 3 weeks, which I didn't know was that long.
Yep.
But you get out the hospital. I'm assuming they put you in prednisone.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was gonna say they had to put you in prednisone.
I came out looking like a Cabbage Patch doll. Remember those things?
Yeah, with the chunky cheeks and everything like
Goodness, my cheeks were so big. I was so chunky.
that.
Yes.
You were chunky.
I was a chunky monkey.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was a lot.
Yeah.
And a lot went on my joints as well. So my dad
Pain.
had to carry me up and down the steps at times.
Wow.
Yeah. So because I couldn't go to school.
Wow.
I missed a lot of school. A lot.
Yeah.
Because most of it was pain from the medication because I was on it for so long.
Yeah.
And then others, I was tired. I couldn't eat. I would wake up, but I'm just like, he would come and knock on the door and be like, "You ready to go to school?" And I'm like, "Dad, I'm not. I can't. Can I please stay home today?" And he would ask me like, "What's wrong?" And do you want me to stay home? I'm like, "No, I'm okay." But he would come at lunchtime, make sure I'm good. But yeah, I missed a lot of school.
Yeah. And with like just bed rest, like
Bed rest. Yep, I was in the bed. So I got up. I finally was able to get up maybe around like 1 o'clock. Mind you, I got up at 6 o'clock because I had to be on the bus at
awake
school.
in the morning,
Mhm.
6 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
And you would basically be in the bed from 6 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock in the
Until
afternoon.
1. And sometimes he would come home and he would have to help me even go to the bathroom. Like, he'll make sure I'm good and then come out, stand there, wait till I'm good. And
Yeah.
it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah. And that's still before teenager?
Yep.
Okay. So we
Right,
go
teenager. I settled in. Like, I wasn't even a teenager yet.
right. So you get to being a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah. It now those times I didn't have a long episode in the hospital, like 3 weeks, but there were long periods of time. Like he would have to come and get me from school, because I was tired or I was bruising, bloody nose. That was always a key thing. Like I would look for as a nosebleed. So if I had a nosebleed, I knew I had to go right to the hospital.
yeah, because the vessels in the nose are so sensitive. So if one of those broke and you don't have enough platelets to clot, that's basically your indicator right there.
Correct.
Which,
And most of my nosebleed, it took a while for them to stop it.
yeah.
But yeah, so teenage years, it was tough, especially, around the girly times. Those moments, it was a lot. It was draining. Yeah.
So like you almost had like amplified effects whenever that would happen. So like every month you basically were just like completely bedridden, but not for those reasons, but because of the autoimmune disease.
Yep.
And you literally had no energy at all. Yikes.
Yes. It
Yikes.
was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, teenage years, it did slow down a little bit. I was consistent, like going to the doctors and making sure on medicine, making sure they stay good. And fast forward, found this one doctor, Dr. Chernoff, who uh was just the same thing like my dad, ride or die. Like what she need, this is what she need. This is what we can do to get her better. And he was just all for it.
So what was your experience with the doctors prior to him?
Oh, they wanted surgery. They wanted to take everything out, without even like further studies or examinations. It was like, let's take her spleen out, right? Yeah.
Oh,
Let's take her spleen out. My dad was like, absolutely not.
right.
Like, what else can you do? And then it was the steroids that they were
That's all they
saying.
could do.
Right. Because they can't guarantee if your spleen, they take the spleen out, there's no guarantees that it's gonna cure, it's gonna help, because it
Right.
still could come back.
Right.
So my dad was just like, no. It's like, if it can come back, what's the point?
What are we doing this for?
So, and then I'm gonna put her under surgery, and then there's a possibility that she can bleed in surgery and not come out of it. So
Yeah,
it
that
didn't
didn't
make
make any
sense.
sense. It sounded to me like the doctors wanted to kind of make you a little experiment,
Mm-hmm.
which is not at all unheard of. So, and I'm not going to go into my little diatribe on, doctors or anything like that.
We've had our
Yeah. But we've encountered our fair share of doctors. And there's only really been a few good ones, though.
Yeah. And
And
Dr. Chernoff was a
Dr. Mark Chernoff, if you're still doing what you're doing, buddy,
yes.
you get 2 thumbs up and 2 toes up from me.
And a hug from me.
Yeah. I hope that's whenever I think doctor, I think of him, right? That's how they all should be.
Yeah.
But they're not. Not even close.
No.
And again, I said I wasn't going to get into it.
You wasn't, that's not.
So I'm not going to get into it. But there are very few like legitimately good doctors that we've encountered out there, especially dealing with your conditions.
Yeah.
And it was just like Mark Chernoff is one of them.
He was one. You know what? Another one just popped in my head. When I was little, her name was Gail Turner, Dr. Gail Turner. She was a good doctor. She was, when I was little, she was my doctor. She kept a close eye on me too.
Yeah.
But then she left the practice
And then
for
things
those
changed.
reasons.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And she didn't want to play that game no more.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, again, I'm not gonna dig too deep into the doctor thing, but I do, because I met Dr. Chernoff a couple times. He was your hematologist from that point all the way until after the birth of our first child. Yeah. So it was just like, yeah, he's cool. He's cool.
Yeah.
Because, I did my thing, right, in terms of like doing my research and trying to figure out what's going on with you and everything like that. Because, I mean, there's more to this story than what we're talking about here. We're just in the teenage years.
Yeah. I was afraid to tell you that I had ITP.
Yeah, we talked about that. We talked about that. Yeah. And I kind of just looked and I was just like, I understood it though. I get it. Because that'll scare somebody off. Right? It's like, does the dude want to undertake that type of responsibility, that type of care that potentially is required? And it was kind of an easy one for me. Yeah. I mean, well, look, let's be real. People call me crazy all the time for all types of different things.
That
But
is true.
at the end of the day, I saw so much potential in the person that you could become that I was just like, I'd be an idiot not to. And it's just like, no matter which way you look at it, like if you're entering into a relationship, and here we go with some relationship advice apparently, but it's just like if you're entering into a relationship, you can't, like, I don't get people nowadays when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about what do I get from it, right? As opposed to what do you actually offer, right?
Right.
And my whole point was just like, I have a lot to offer you. And it was like, and coincidentally, what I offer fits perfectly with what you need. And it was just like, so and all these things take work though.
It does.
Right? And that's another thing that I think, like, I sound like an old man now, but it's just like, why is everybody so afraid of working? Why are they so afraid of working in a relationship? Why are they so afraid of yielding in a relationship? You know what I mean? So when we first talked about it and you first told me that you have this condition, I'm just like, oh, okay. Best believe, I went that night and studied what that condition is. There really wasn't that much information, but it just led me to the link of autoimmune diseases. And then I just started studying that. So that's 22 years ago,
Yes.
just about, right? Like,
Yes.
I've been studying, talking to different doctors, autoimmune disease for 22 years
Yep.
because you said you had ITP.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I knew that I wanted that responsibility. I wanted to take that on because I saw it was so strong what I saw, that person that you could become,
Yeah.
point blank. I'd be an idiot to just be like, nah, I'm good. Because it's just like, who mm-mm.
Yeah.
No, it was as close to a no-brainer as you can get. And
Well, you're something special because a lot of people or a lot of dudes still saw that, when I was in the dating scene, there were some good guys, it's just they saw it as too much,
yeah,
but you're something special.
they weren't built like me.
Okay.
Look like I can tell you that right now. And even to this day,
No, they're not.
there's a lot of people, they're not
Mhm.
built like me,
They're not.
and they don't think like I do,
Mhm.
and they're not willing to mash and grind like I'm willing to.
Mhm.
And that's the thing, like, and this is not even me patting myself on the back. This is
No.
me actually, for the first time in my life,
Mhm.
recognizing fully
Yep.
what I bring to the table,
Ex
and recognizing fully why I needed to do what I did.
Mhm. And why you're in a position that you are in
Why I'm
now.
in the position I'm in now, right?
Mhm.
So it's just like, so it was really no sweat. Like, even when you told me, I
Mhm.
was just like, oh, okay, let me see what that is. And I
Mhm.
found out what it was. I was like, okay, well, let me see how I can help.
Mm.
That was the thought. Let me see how I can help. Cause I was like, this is my homie. Like, what we doing? Like,
Yeah.
and that's the one thing. So it's like, while I understand it, dudes, but you know what? Though, another way I look at it, they weren't meant to be there.
Amen.
So it's just like, okay, cool.
Right.
See you later.
Yep. Bye.
But that's just what, in my mind, that's what it came down to.
Ended up being better for it, so.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Mhm.
mean, 22 years later, we've been married for
A
8.
long time.
I know. I know you tired of seeing my face.
No, not really.
I'm tired of seeing my face. Oh, wait.
I thought you was getting ready to say I'm tired of seeing your face. I was getting ready. You see me? I was like, "What?"
Yeah, the boxing was about to start coming
Yeah,
out.
like,
No,
"What you
no,
say?"
no, never that, never that. But yeah, no, it's very interesting. Like, just pulling it back a little bit, going to the doctor. Mark Chernoff is a real one,
Mhm.
and you had, it sounds like you had key people set up in your life. Your dad was one of them. He was the first one, really, right? And then Dr. Chernoff, the next one, and me.
Yup.
Interesting,
Yeah, you played a big role.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get, well. So let's pull up. Let's go back to the teenage years.
Yeah.
Did we do all the teenage years? We're good to go there.
Oh, did we do all the teenage years? Yeah, we did all the teenage years. That's kinda like how it went.
Yeah. So it kind of leveled out a little bit,
Mhm.
but then you get to adulthood, right?
Mm.
And right towards, like, the beginning of adulthood, that's when we
Yeah.
connect, meet up.
Yeah.
That's when you was trying to, holla at
Here we
me.
go.
Oh, okay.
No.
I mean, you're telling the story, so go ahead. You can.
Okay. Wait, which one?
No, not the way we met. I'm
Oh,
just saying, just
I thought I can get that out.
we're still,
Okay.
no, you can't. We're
Okay.
still talking about autoimmune disease,
Oh.
and you dealing with that, right? So it was still ITP at that time.
Yes, it was still ITP, just ITP at that time.
Yeah.
Um, so I I had an episode at Walmart, but I don't think you were there yet. You weren't there yet.
Okay.
Um, But I had an episode. I was there. Wait, my brain went somewhere else.
Okay.
Ask me the question again. Do it again.
Well, where'd your brain go?
My brain went to because I was thinking about you,
Yeah.
right? And I was thinking about like when it started with you, and you seeing
Oh,
the very first time of like actually witnessing me going through like a severe episode.
so it was a little bit before I saw you go through a severe episode, but you did have one when we were chilling, talking like friends, right? Because I remember going into work one day and was just like, "Yo, well, where's Erica?" And it was like, she's in the hospital." What? Like, yeah,
Oh,
she
okay.
goes to the hospital every now and again. And I'm like, "Yo, like, is she all right?" Da 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 da, so on and so forth. But I don't think I
Then we
actually
might
had.
be speaking at the same time because that day or so then you were there then. So I had a nosebleed, and
Okay,
then I had the blisters in my mouth.
right,
So
right.
I
You didn't
had
talk about that.
Yeah, I had the blisters, so you get the little blisters as well.
Mhm.
Um, and I had those in my mouth, and I had a nosebleed, and I got really like almost as like I was about to pass out.
Yeah,
And coworkers took me to the hospital, went to
yeah,
Abington,
yeah.
and yeah, I was there, so that we might be talking about the same
You probably are.
instance.
'Cause I mean, you were going for a little bit.
Mhm.
How many days were you in the hospital?
Um, these were like maybe a week.
That's still a long time to be in a
Oh,
hospital.
see how I just like,
Yeah,
oh, it
that's
was nothing, you
yeah,
know.
that's still a long time to be in a hospital.
It is long. They were very long.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
were very
Because I
long.
mean, think about it. With the birth of of our oldest,
Mhm.
you were in a hospital for a week.
Yeah, see, that's normal. That was normal to
Not
me.
even a week.
Yeah, 3 was the longest. I think I was in there.
Yeah, but the normal for it to be one.
I know, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, that is a little
Right.
bit.
Until later and just be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, this is what I'm here for. I know. All right,"
Yeah. But
Um,
that's the so I was around for that.
and you
That's the
were, yeah.
one, but I didn't know anything about it, right?
Mhm.
You never told me about it then. But that's what caused
Right.
you to tell me about it.
Mhm.
Because then when you came back, I'm just like, "Yo, what's up?" I was like,
Mhm.
like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "I have a condition, da 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 da." And I'm just like, but you kind of left it at that because we weren't dating then,
Yeah.
right?
I
And
never went into detail
you
with a
did
lot of
not give
people.
many details.
Mm-mm.
And I was just like, well, and I remember asking if you need anything. You was just like, no, that's sweet, but no, I don't. And I'm like, okay. And I didn't know if I offended you or not at that time.
Mm.
But
I had a tendency to brush people off real fast.
yeah, you did. You did. You definitely did
'Cause I
then.
didn't want anybody to feel sorry or have, like, a pity party for me. Like, 'cause I wanted to be normal, right?
Yeah.
I didn't want anybody looking at me like, "Oh, Erica, are you okay? Oh, you can't do it this thing." Like, "Oh, I'm not asking her to go out because she can't." Like, I didn't wanna tell nobody.
Right.
Um, so I did my thing,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
You just kept it
So, I
pushing.
just kept it pushing.
Yeah. It's funny because then I started to little by little find myself more in your inner circle than
Yeah,
not.
that's
Because then
true.
I kind of just pushed myself in though a little bit
Mm.
because it's just like I was concerned. Like, yo, what's that about? Like, what's going on there? What does
What
that
you hiding?
mean? Like you gonna be here next year? Like, what you saying, right?
Yeah,
Like, I
right.
was trying to get all the details really, um, but I still didn't get any details until we actually started dating, and then it
Mm.
got a little serious,
Yeah,
and then you were just like, okay, I gotta tell you,
that's
yeah, it's very
it's
interesting.
tough.
I know, I
It's
know,
tough. 'Cause, you're good people, like, we were cool.
yeah, it's super tight,
Like, and I'm like, if I tell him this, he gonna be like, "Nah," 'cause that's what was happening.
yeah,
If I tell anybody, it was like, okay," and leave me alone.
yeah,
So if I told you, somebody I was cool with, like, talking to, you gonna be like, "No, I'm good."
yeah.
Without even saying it to you, that was me making an assumption, you
Yeah,
know what I
no,
mean?
I get it. I get, and I know, and I understand why you made that assumption too, right?
Mm.
Because that's what you were used to. That's what you
Mhm.
saw already. I mean,
Mhm.
you had evidence of that,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. Um, it's just like I said, I'm built different,
Yeah. Yeah.
And plus, you were so cool. So cool. Like, I was messing up, and you would be
Oh,
the only one that I would tell. I was
yeah.
like,
We
yo.
both were though. We were
And
a
like,
mess.
you
I mean, that was a deep. It was yeah.
yeah, you had problems.
I had issues.
You had problems, but I did some things.
Yeah. We are not proud of it.
Nah, not at all. Not at all. Not
Not
at all.
proud of
But
it.
the funny thing is, like, you would be the person I go to about the dumb stuff that I was doing.
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting there, and I was with somebody, and I would be calling you at 2:00 in the morning. And they was just like, yo, what you doing?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, nah, that's my homie though. That's my homie. Like,
Oh,
I
right.
need
We're just
advice.
friends. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know what to do, but I think I messed up. And yeah. And then you would hit me up with your stories. I'm just like, why on earth would you
get out
yeah,
of that situation now?
Yeah. It's like, why? What are you
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
So we get to a point, finally, where I gotta let you tell that story.
Which one?
The one where you hiding in with the boxes.
Oh, really? You gonna embarrass me like that?
Yup.
This is the second time. Okay. Really? Okay, I was hiding. No, because this is gonna confirm something in the earlier story that you was telling about how we met.
Yep.
I don't like how we weaving this. Like, no. Okay. All right, that's fine. I'll let it go. Okay, I'll let it go.
You see what I did there?
I see what you did. It's okay.
All right.
It's okay. It's
Let's tell the story, Erica.
okay. Fine. Okay. So I was working at Walmart. I was an assistant manager at Walmart. And working overnights. And I'm sorry. It's gonna sound you so bad. Okay. I called Evan to basically pour out my feelings.
While hiding in the back with boxes.
Because I didn't want my employees to see me, right?
Yeah.
So I said, I'm gonna go hide in these boxes real quick. But I was whispering and everything. And I was telling Evan how I felt about him and that I liked him. Mind you, that he just got out of a relationship.
Like 2 hours before I just broke up with somebody. And here she is hiding in boxes telling me, I got feelings for you.
I like you.
Look,
I was like, he free.
But
that was my
we
mindset.
Grown. And you talking about I like you.
Come on, I wasn't you. I don't know. I was in a box. And I didn't know how I was gonna tell you that I liked you. Like you literally just said I broke up with my girlfriend. Okay. I like you.
That's
literally
pretty much
how it went.
That's how it went.
That's so bad. Like now that I think about that, that's a little rude. Like I ain't even give you a chance to
I couldn't even process.
But you know what? It was meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you say now. It was meant to be. You say it that way. It was meant to be. Yeah.
It was meant to be.
It was funny though, right? But my response was very respectful still, right? It's just like, hey, listen, I get it, but I literally just broke up with my girlfriend, so.
And I felt so. I was salty. I was like, yo.
Like your timing was impeccable. Let's just
Did
say
you
that.
just
It was
say
impeccable
that?
timing.
I told my best friend about that at the time.
Yeah.
I told her. She was like, "Girl, you did." I said, "Yes, I did." She was like, "What'd he say?" I was like, "It wasn't time yet." She was like, "He'll be back."
That's funny. That's funny. That was pretty wild. That was pretty wild.
Yeah.
But
wow.
But so you were an assistant manager at Walmart. We were kicking it. We were already friends. We were close friends. You confessed your undying love for me.
Wow.
And this is something that you had from the very beginning. And now there's proof.
So where did you see from the? So we're just gonna keep going. We're gonna keep going.
And so then we had that.
I was behind boxes.
You were basically behind, hiding in boxes.
It's crazy.
I mean,
not inside of a box, like just pallets. So they are tall. And so I
You
was
stood on a pallet?
I didn't
Oh.
climb the mountain. I climbed the mountain to tell my love to spill out
To
my
profess my love.
feelings.
Oh, that was
I
funny.
was between pallets.
Yeah. Hey, I
I
mean,
don't
look,
believe you brought that up.
why wouldn't I? It's a part of the story.
It is. That's crazy.
But anyway, we took a little detour
Yeah,
here,
you're right.
so let's bring it back to the autoimmune disease, right?
Yes.
Because that's where I ended up. So, duh, we ended up together and we ended up dating and doing things and going out, having fun and all that fun stuff. But you had a major episode. Was it before we got married or after we got married?
It was after we got married.
Oh, snap. So we get married
Yeah, we were.
and then,
It wasn't that long after our marriage.
but here's the thing, it seemed to pick up because you were in the hospital like almost every quarter.
Well, yeah, I was a preschool teacher.
Okay, well, but not for the whole thing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, where are we?
You were still a consistent manager or assistant manager.
Oh, yeah, you're right, you're right, you're
Yeah.
right. I was having hip pain too.
Yeah. Well, you were lifting stuff that you shouldn't have been lifting
You
and you
right.
didn't normally lift. That's what it was.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
but
Yes.
there were actually quite a few episodes
Mhm.
after that point, right? And then we get to a point where so you eventually you left Walmart, left that whole thing, and then you became a preschool teacher,
Mhm.
right? And that's something that you've always wanted to do, always wanted to be, and you had a blast doing it.
I did.
But
Mm.
kids are biohazards.
They're known for that.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids were 3, 4.
Oh, so they're prime biohazardness.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was some rough times after that
Yeah, it was. It was.
because there was one major incident
Mhm.
dealing with the children basically, right? So I guess this is a part that I tell, right? Because you were dazed for a lot of it.
Yeah, I was. I do remember walking up the street. So I'll tell this part and you chime in. I was at the school
Mhm.
and I was standing outside with the kids.
Mhm.
Um and my nose started bleeding.
Yeah.
And went in, I told the director at that time, I said, "Look, I got to go home."
Yeah.
And I was walking home cuz the daycare
Well,
was
you
like,
called me.
"Mhm. Go ahead." That's why I say chime in cuz it's a little hazy on some parts. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you after that, you told your director that you had to leave, and they were just like, "Okay, cool," because your nose was bleeding. You got it to stop though, but you called me and it's just like, "Hey, look, I don't things aren't feeling right, so I'm just gonna, And luckily, you worked right around the corner from the house, so
Correct.
you started walking home. But I left work
Mm.
immediately. Was just like, I gotta go because there's some problems. So
Yeah.
let me go. And I get on our block and I see you walking down the street and you were just like staggered. Like you were just staggering and you did not look like you were actually there.
Mm.
So I pull over and I call your name twice and you just did not respond. And so I had to like move in front of you. And then you like recognized me, like, which was really weird because it just looked like you weren't there. Like it's one of the worst times ever. And it
Yeah.
was just like you weren't there. So I helped you and I mean, look, side note, like good thing nobody was really like eyeballing us because it looked
It looks weird.
suspect.
Yeah.
Like it looked bad. Where it's just like, is he taking advantage of this woman? Like it just did not look right.
Yeah, cuz you were helping me to the
I was
car.
helping you to the car, and I'm just like this, that, and the third, and I'm just like, and you clearly weren't with it, like you were out of it, and I'm just like, but I, help you into the passenger seat, sit you down, right, and then we get into the house, and you're just still completely out of it. But I will never forget that look, like you weren't there, and your nose started bleeding again, and you didn't even know it,
Mm.
and it was just like, so I'm like,
Mm.
hey, look, your nose, and you were just like, oh, okay, and it's just like, oh, you were dazed. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, we might have to go, but you were like, no, I'm good or something. Like, you said something along the lines like, "You're good, you just need to rest." And I'm like, "Okay, all right." And
Until I
then
looked down at my legs.
yeah, and then it was like your legs were covered in bruises, right? And it was just like, "Oh, that's this. That's what this okay." So then we
Mhm.
go to the hospital and find out that that was the lowest amount of platelets you'd
That was
had.
the lowest.
Yeah, so it was like, what was it? You said
3.
3, so 3,000 platelets,
3,000 platelets.
which yeah. So that's why you were kind of clotting, but it kept bleeding again,
And I
right?
remember I remember this part. She walked in, or the 2 nurses were standing outside the little curtain thing,
Yeah,
and all I heard was, "You gonna tell her or you want me to tell her?" And I looked at you and I said, "I'm staying.
yeah. You're
I'm
gonna be here for a
staying."
while.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep. It was crazy.
yeah.
Mhm. Like, yeah.
Point of reference, a normal person does have, you said this earlier, right? Normal person
150,000.
has 150 to 400,000
400,000, yep.
platelets, right?
Mhm.
So no, it's not to 200,000, so 400,000, no
Yeah, so I
normal.
said 400,000.
Oh, you said
So
4?
150,000 to 400,000.
Right.
Mhm.
69 or 629?
Right. Which one?
Yeah, so and you had 3,000
3,000
platelets,
platelets.
which means you were pretty much bleeding out already,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And, so then you needed a transfusion, you needed the inhaling the steroid, the steroid thing,
I
and
had so
then
much hooked up to me.
yeah, and then yeah, that wasn't fun at all. That was actually probably the worst I've seen you, like, ever, and, that's not a fond memory, to be honest with you. It's not that's not a
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
So
I remember your face every time, just like I just felt so bad. And that's the moment, like when I first told you about me
mhm,
being sick and things, that's what I didn't want you to see.
yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
want you to see that.
I honestly think I understood it then.
Mm. Mm.
I got it. I was just like, "This is what she was talking about.
Yeah.
This is why she was so afraid."
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
And here
okay."
we are married. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
just got married not too long ago. We what, 3
yeah.
years in?
It was sooner than it was only like a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
because 2 years hit the massive drama point.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
for point of reference for all of y'all, it was almost over at 2 years.
Yeah,
So,
2 years. Yeah, that
it
was
there was,
these very
maybe we'll
complicated
tell that
times.
story, some other time, but,
Yeah.
as it pertains to, just relationships, marriages, and things like that, it was almost over for us at 2, and, you know, no one would have faulted us for it.
You think?
I don't think everybody, at least everybody I spoke to, was just like, "That's a shame, but I get it."
I don't know. I think my dad would've sat us both down.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Mhm.
He was probably the only real no, because my mom came through and was just like, "Yo, you gotta like." Long story short, my mom was just like, "You gotta man up."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Like, and then my dad said the same thing, so they're both saying the same thing.
yeah. Um, but yeah, it was that was an interesting time. But going back to the time in the hospital where we're sitting there, and you was in there for a while, so I had to still go to work. And ugh, ugh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I fully understood what you were saying earlier on, and
Mhm.
when we were dating and everything like that about that, right? Like it's just like, okay, this is the greatest fear realized.
Yep.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
okay. Um, yeah, those are some times, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But we get through it, right? And for some reason, well, that also led to additional rough times because I was just like, "You don't work anymore. Imma figure out a way to make sure that we're
Mhm.
good."
Yep.
Right? Because you couldn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And that caused some other things.
It did. It did.
Yeah, yeah.
But definitely understood why though.
Mhm.
You, um kinda responded the way my dad did, and I was used to that.
Then why you fight me?
Because I fought him too.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then. Never mind.
Yeah, it wasn't squeaky clean with him. Like, it
Mm,
was I fought with him too because there was I just yeah,
mm,
yeah,
yeah.
but
But that was a mindset though. It was a very similar mindset. And plus, me and your dad talked a lot anyway.
I know.
Like we had a lot of sidebar conversations that you have no idea about.
And I know I need you to tell me.
Nah, you don't need to know now.
Why not?
What? Why are you so nosy?
I'm not nosy.
Yes, you.
I just need information.
What?
It helps me grow.
Oh man, but look, so we get through, we have that episode, and then I fully realize what this whole thing is, and that sends me on a whole research thing. But
Mhm.
at the same time, now I'm working multiple jobs to make sure that we're good, and we had to get out of the house that we were living in.
Mhm.
Oh man, like rush job, get out of the house because we weren't going to be able to afford it anymore, and
Mhm.
there was it. Woof.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough.
Yeah, they go back to them apartments.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes. And
oh,
it wasn't like something we had to do. We had to do it overnight. Did
yeah,
we ended up getting everything out overnight
yeah, yeah.
and getting it there? That's crazy.
It's wild
Yeah. I
because
felt so bad.
I mean, it was just what we had to do. It's what we had to do.
And it's what you would like a stand-up guy would do.
Oh, and you had to make the decision fast too because the longer we
Mhm.
waited, the more money we were losing.
Yeah.
So it was just like, we gotta make a decision now.
Yeah.
So I was just like, listen, let's just take a while off of work. In the back of my mind, I knew I was just like, you're not working again. But you can't necessarily just be like, I'm man, you don't work, you in kitchen, right? Like I couldn't
But you
just
didn't do that at all. You
I know, but that's the thing that's how it's interpreted a lot of times. A lot
Okay.
of times it's interpreted in a ways that says that like, hey, look, that's just being chauvinistic or that's being
Mm.
misogynistic or that's being somethingistic.
Imma
Right?
need people to think. Like,
Well,
if your wife is she can't work because of her condition and you wanna get up and make sure that she's good, that's a man for you. Thank you for doing your job.
yeah. I mean, because think of the opposite. What I'm gonna
Yeah.
force you back into work knowing that you have the condition, knowing that there are gonna be many more flare-ups to come.
Mhm.
It's just like,
It just makes it worse for you, because 'cause I'm not gonna be at work all the time.
I mean, to me, it seems like simple logic,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
apparently it's not. So it
They
is
say
what it
you were
is,
built
though.
different, so
I mean, yeah, right, right. You know, but so we go through all that, and now you're at a point where, like, at that point, we're going through multiple bouts with the hospital. Started to have to take the prednisone again, so all the joint pain, all that stuff came back. Everything came back, and it came back with
Mm.
like a vengeance almost, right?
Mhm. Prednisone did a number on my joints.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, a number on 'em.
So then we get to the birth of our oldest.
Mhm. Yes.
Yeah.
We had him, and, my platelet count did so much better. So I ended up being at 100 something thousand, above 190,000 every single time, but before that, they,
Well, every single time what?
when they would go we would go to Doctor Chernoff
Yeah.
and get my blood
So you
drawn.
mean throughout pregnancy,
I'm sorry,
everything?
yeah,
Okay,
through our
got it. Yeah, yeah.
pregnancy. Right, I'm sorry, because we went through, so the whole 9 months they was watching me like a
Mhm.
hawk,
Because you were
right?
high risk,
Because
super,
I
super
was
high
high
risk.
risk. So I was
Yeah.
seeing him, visiting him every week.
Yeah.
That's how y'all get so close,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we were tight.
Visiting him every week, um,
Mhm.
and my platelets were good.
Yeah.
They stayed good for a while, even up until his birth, and after his birth, it was I was in remission.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was awesome, right?
Mhm.
You somehow that little dude,
Yes.
who's a big dude
Who's a big
now,
dude. Mm-hmm.
pretty big dude now,
Pretty big.
right? But something happened,
Mm-hmm.
and
It
you ended
flipped the
up
script.
completely.
Yes.
And so, thinking about that, right? So in the episode that I did about inflammation, I was talking about autoimmune disease. I said there's two ways, and I don't really have a good grasp on it, and it doesn't sound like many people do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And maybe I just need to do more research, but 22 years of research,
Yeah.
I haven't really seen anybody have a good answer to whether it's so your body produces antibodies,
Mm-hmm.
and these antibodies attack different things, different portions of your body that it shouldn't. Okay,
Yes.
so like let's just say ITP, we'll take that as a simple example. Your body produces antibodies, white blood cells or cells that will attack your platelets.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing I couldn't figure out is if the thing that's all mixed up is it the cell that's, wrong, or there's some bad coding in the cell, the antibodies, or is there actually something wrong for those antibodies to attack,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, and I always bring that up because you can never really tell which one is which. We don't know
That's
which
a
is which.
good question.
So it's just like with the birth of our oldest,
Mm-hmm.
was it the fact that like he somehow got you to produce better antibodies, or was the problem not there anymore?
Mm.
And that
Because you produce when you have a baby, you produce a lot, like what, double everything else because you have to
Mhm.
care for the baby.
Right.
So there's a strong possibility.
So it's like, so I took that idea and it's just like, what do pregnant women usually take, and what do they produce that's in abundance, basically, right? And that's kind of where the research stopped, right? It was like, what do they produce? What do they take? And what do they have in their system? Like vitamins, nutrients, minerals, cells, like what happens there during pregnancy that allows whatever happens with autoimmune disease to not work?
Hmm. Now, for some women, it could flip though.
Right. That's why you were high risk in the first place,
Hmm.
right? So the thing is, why did it work for you?
I, you know, I don't have an answer for that, or maybe I do. I always say it was the Lord.
I, I get it. I'm there with you.
That's just, you know, because after him, I was in remission for a very long time.
Well, you're still in remission.
Well, see, yeah, you're right. I'm just thinking of the other stuff that I have. And it
We'll
feels
get
like I'm
there.
not.
We'll get there. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you haven't had ITP issues so for that long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For a long time.
Very long time.
Since he was born.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's just, I'm very curious about that, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those things I
We
wish
need to
more.
call Dr. Chernow.
He probably has data.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah. So you get rid of ITP and go through the whole, you have your firstborn and everything like that, and he's healthy and everything, and there's very few worries in that respect, other than being traumatized at childbirth. But
That wasn't that bad. You survived.
see, everybody thought I said being traumatized at childbirth. I was talking about you. I bet you they thought I was talking about you.
No.
No, I'm talking about me. I was straight up
You
traumatized
were
in there.
not traumatized.
They need to tell me. They need to give me more information about what actually goes on in there, because those videos don't do justice.
Well, you were looking at the wrong videos. There are some videos out there that will give you like full detail.
All of the extra detail
of what you need to know when you
Man,
walk in that room.
I wish I saw that video then, because you know
No,
what?
you
No, I don't.
don't.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
You
No, I don't.
don't?
Because what I saw was a horror scene. That's what that was.
You only look because she told you to.
I
And you shouldn't have. You should have been like, I'm all right. I'm good.
Nah, because then they'd be like, man, don't be no punk. Like, you know what I
You
mean?
know
Like,
how many dudes they probably see pass out, or well, you didn't pass out.
I didn't pass out.
but
Hold on.
I know you didn't pass out.
Hold on.
You were getting there though.
I was not getting there. I was fine
You
actually
were.
seeing. She was like, oh, there's the head. It's a head full of hair. Oh, let me see. I'm going to stay on this other side of the sheet. But, and then mind you, she had me holding up your 200-pound leg. Like, oh man. And this was
Yeah.
before I started lifting anything like that. So
Yes.
your leg was crushing me. I was like, well, what
It
in the
was
name
not
of Hulk
crushing.
leg is
Ooh,
this?
it was like dead weight.
It was dead weight. That's an understatement. It was a ton of meat
It
just laying on my shoulder.
it was yeah, because I did gain a lot of weight.
You was thickums.
I was
You was
thick.
thick.
I
I didn't dislike
Nope.
it. I'm
Nope.
just saying it
Do
was
not go down.
things were
Don't.
filling out quite
Wow.
nice.
Yup.
Yeah. I was just like,
Yup.
all
You're
right.
still going.
Oh, my bad. My bad. But yeah, we get back to whoa. Otherwise, I'm talking about traumas.
All right. You wanna change that
Yeah, I want to change
image.
all that traumatizing stuff because it was just like, yo, I saw like okay, so the actual traumatic part
Yeah.
wasn't seeing the top of our oldest head. That wasn't it. I mean, I wasn't going down there to look again, but after he's out and everything like that, he's crying. I'm just like, oh yeah, and then the nurse was still sitting there. The doctor was still sitting there. I'm like, what's she still sitting there for? Like everything's out. Like
Why
you
she
just
there?
gotta
Why you
just
there?
stitch her up if you have to. But why are you just still sitting there? But she kept pulling stuff out, and I'm like, what is that? What has happened? No. I couldn't do it. I was just
Were
like
you
that
really yelling like that?
in my head. I mean, you should saw my eyes. You couldn't see my eyes because you
You
were
was just as
exhausted.
loud as the
I
baby.
was just like, oh no. No. Somebody should have told me about that.
We did tell you. The
No.
doctors.
Who's we?
Me and the doctors.
Y'all didn't tell me anything. Yeah, I didn't even exist.
You're right.
What do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Dudes don't exist in these situations.
They care.
What?
They gave you a little robe and and the nurse gave you a pillow. Remember that?
No.
Wow. She gave you a pillow. It was nice and fluffy because you was laying there and you was like, you asleep. You believe me. You know you do.
I don't believe you.
Yes, you do.
I don't believe you. I don't remember that at all.
See? See? You wanna know why?
Because of the horror show. That's why. Anyway, we're going on with the so you were in remission from ITP for a minute, right?
Mhm.
And technically you didn't have any autoimmune issues for a while.
Yeah.
Like leading all the way up to the birth of just a little bit before the birth of our second one.
A little bit before, yeah.
Now we waited a long time to have the second one, and
We did.
that didn't happen without fanfare.
Man.
That was rough too, right?
Mhm.
Because COVID hit and COVID messed everything up, and I don't believe anything that anybody says when it comes to COVID at this point. And I swear up and down you had COVID.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah,
I
because it was
What
all the
else was
symptoms
that?
and then some, and then it was just like, oh yeah, no, it's just a really bad flu. And he was like, that's the sickest you've been in your entire life, and you
Mhm.
couldn't breathe. And we were trying to get to some help from the hospital, and they were just like, no, it's just a flu.
My
Like,
body was
are
hurt, like,
you
it was
serious?
so bad.
Now, the reason and it was right around the time where it started initially spreading,
Mhm.
right? Like
It
it was
was.
right around that time. And all of a sudden you hear like the next day, hundreds of cases are popping up.
And then
Like,
they started shutting stuff down.
sorry, shutting stuff down. But you ended up getting it in the hospital because of a situation that happened before, right? So I mean, you want me to break into it? You want to talk
You can
about it?
bring into it.
Okay, all right. So we were at the time we were trying for our second child,
Mhm.
and we succeeded in
We succeeded.
getting pregnant. How about that,
There you
right?
go.
There we go. Succeeded in getting pregnant. And then we had okay, let me backtrack a little bit, right? Before I continue on with the story. Like or you know what? Let me keep forward and I'll explain.
Okay.
I want to put a pin in what I just had this thought, right? So then, well, just getting straight out there. I know I'm fumbling over it a little bit because it's a little weird to say, but we had a miscarriage, or you had a miscarriage, or I mean, I know I didn't, but,
My body went through trauma, but we lost the baby.
yes, yes, and there was a procedure that had to be done after that, and that required you to be in the hospital, and that's where we believe you got
COVID.
COVID, which seems to fit,
Mhm.
seems to fit,
Go
but
ahead.
and what why I stumbled so much on that and who to say like, "Well, you had a miscarriage, I had a miscarriage, we had a miscarriage," whatever it is, because like it's you know it's a thing that is definitely intimate and personal for you.
Mhm.
But I think the general conception or the general perception is that like men don't feel anything about that, right?
Mm.
Or shouldn't. Um, or shouldn't take claim to it or anything like that,
Mm.
right? And I always go back to this one story, like not one story, but this one time that I was, we were going through it, and I was trying to talk to someone about it, and a couple of women explained to me how I need to be there for you, and I was just like, well, that's a no brainer, duh. But it's
Yeah.
just like, who can I actually talk to about it? Because I did feel some type of way, but I didn't know whether I had the right to feel some type of way.
Mm.
And that's where I was super confused about it, where it's just
Yeah.
like, should I feel anything? No, I shouldn't feel anything. Let me just keep it pushing because she should be feeling something and I need to help her.
Right.
Right. But these women in particular, and they happen to be church women too. Yeah, right. Those are Christians. Just like, yeah, no, it doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you feel. That's the gist of it. It's just like you just got to be there for her 100%. It was like, well, what if I feel some type of way too? Well, it's like that doesn't matter. Like you're a man,
Wow.
and it's just like
What
it's
is their
like, do you
definition?
understand what the
Yeah.
woman goes through? This, and this, and it's just like, all right, I don't think I need to be talking to you anymore.
Right.
Right? Because and that's another thing that like honestly, that's something I noticed with the church in general. Why the church is becoming quite annoying to me.
Yeah.
Um this whole idea like all the isms have invaded the church. And
Mhm.
and I don't know why the church allows itself, the Christian church at the very least, the Christian church allows itself to blend in with the culture, to blend in with the isms,
Yeah.
the blend in with, you know, um cultural ideas, and it
It
just
doesn't make
it
sense.
makes no sense at all whatsoever and is completely backwards, right? So the ism that I ran into here is feminism,
Mm.
right? Where it's just like it's so wholly focused on the woman that a man is irrelevant here.
Like you have no feelings
I
at
have no
all.
feelings. I should not have feelings in this
That
instance.
doesn't make any sense. If it's a Christian woman, they will understand that you are made in the image of God.
Right, but
So you have
they are
feelings too.
Christians, right? And here's the thing. This is kind of a problem that I have in general, right? And I want to talk to like I'll dig into this idea even more on the podcast, right? I'm just trying to find the right time. But it's just like even the message of the church has changed. It's so different now, right? Even like there's a reason why there are less men going to church now than there was in the past, right? There's a reason for that. There's a reason for the majority of church membership being women,
Mm.
right? And it all really comes down to messaging, I think. And I heard
Mm.
I saw this documentary and I read this documentary, I saw this video and I read this interesting article, right? So it's just
Mhm.
it pretty much it says the same thing, to corroborate each other. Is that like the messaging of the church has changed,
Mhm.
where it's just like it only really talks about one part of God
Mm.
and it completely forgets the other, right? So what do I mean when I say that? So it's just like, hey, look, come as you are. One. So this is one side. Come as you are. God loves you no matter what. God is a forgiving God. He's a loving and caring God. And and that's fine and
All the
that's all
soft,
true.
flowery stuff.
Right. Everything that you'll find in Psalms, that's what you get, but you
Mhm.
forget about the wrath. You forget about the qualifications that you have to meet. Meaning, right? How else do you think you're going to get to well done thy good and faithful servant? Right? That is a set of conditions. You have to meet a particular set of conditions. Men line themselves up more with the conditions that need to be met because
Mhm.
that's measurable, right? We couldn't care less about, well, come as you are, because what happens is that changes from come as you are and go as you are.
Right.
But the original idea is come as you are, but leave changed.
Yep.
And they completely forgot about that. So it's just like, yeah, it makes sense that membership for men has gone down because you're not talking to men. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like, so, you know, pulling it back, I'll go into that a little bit more some other day, but you pull it back, and I'm just like, here's these women sitting here telling me, like, I'm going to them for like a little bit of counsel. And it's like, maybe that was a mistake on my end. Maybe I should have went to men.
Mhm.
But there were no dudes around that actually cared about that.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this was more emotional in nature. So you would think
Yep. You go.
that they would be there in a actual Christian way, and they weren't. So it had me confused for a while. But and honestly, that's why I responded the way I did. I came off as very cold.
Yeah.
And it was just like, didn't know what else to do. Right? And it was just like, well, my body isn't the one that went through it, but we went through it.
It really does confuse me with Christian women
Mm,
that they would say those Christian women would say something like that to you
yeah.
um because that's not Christ-like. That's not something um again it's frustrating.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm right there with you.
That's frustrating and it's sad because you're allowed to have feelings too. So it happened to you.
Yeah.
It happened to my body, right? But it happened to both of us,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you need to care as well,
Yeah.
just like I need to care.
Yeah.
We care for each other, love on one another.
That's the idea.
So they are misguided. Um,
But here's the thing. You'd be surprised at how many are severely misguided.
oh no, I understand it.
Like it's
I
the
mean, I'm a woman and I have conversations with other women and
it's
it's
alarming.
unsettling.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's unsettling, you know? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like and again, right? A lot of it comes down to a lot of the cultural ideas seeping into the church when the church is supposed to be a standard. It's supposed to be
Yes.
completely separate and held at the highest standard. Somehow these cats are letting people in and just sitting here saying like, "Oh, you know what? It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. Do whatever feels right."
Oh, it's because God is not the forefront of their
Well,
attention.
they are.
They need yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just like, so I got caught up in that, right? Where it's just like, and it messed me up because technically that's a vulnerable time for me.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, but I couldn't be the full support that I needed to be, right? And then, we continue on and we, push forward. Now we took another little tangent, but this is why I wanted to actually talk about the autoimmune disease because it branches out to so many other aspects. Like it's kind of like our main branch.
I
And
see
things
that.
kinda come off of that,
Yeah.
because of this, because we look at it in this light, right? So, you know, we go through the miscarriage, but all the doctors and everybody was just like, "But you healthy though, so
Mhm.
y'all just need to keep
Perfectly fine.
trying,"
Keep going.
right? And then, so we do.
We we did. I'm waiting for it.
I didn't say
I'm
anything.
waiting.
What you waiting for?
Because you tying it all in throughout this whole conversation.
Oh, like, yeah, I put it down. I mean,
Wow. Wow.
is that what you mean? That's what you saying? That's what you wanted to talk about?
You're embarrassed, aren't you?
I am not that
You should be.
maybe you're embarrassed
A
because
little
I'm
bit.
not embarrassed.
Nice. That's that male testosterone in you.
Mm-mm. Full of tea,
Oh,
high tea all day.
that's a good thing.
Yeah, well, especially now.
Okay.
No, because I'm getting older.
Okay. Where are we going?
I'm
What
trying to
what
tell you, we moving to
where
our
are you
youngest
trying
now.
to what?
To our youngest.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah.
we have our
I can't
youngest.
even hear you straight now.
I know the type of effect I have on you.
Wow. On who?
On you. What you think I said?
When?
Forget it. All right.
Today?
So we gonna keep going on.
Yesterday.
Okay. Let's proceed
Okay,
now.
go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So we eventually um have our youngest, but the pregnancy was very different,
Yes.
very very different from an autoimmune perspective, right? Because now you were hitting a little bit lower on the platelet count all over again,
Mhm.
and it seemed like the birth of our second kind of reversed stuff.
Like, straight up attacked me.
Oh man,
Like, "You
so
don't love me."
that's funny. That's funny. So then we get through it. We get to the pregnancy portion of it. It was rough, and we get towards the tail end of it. The tail end of it. Well, what ended
Well,
up being the tail end of
yeah.
it, right?
Mhm.
Because it wasn't supposed to be. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he
you go
so
ahead.
yeah, it was not. So, yeah, like, the let's see, towards
32nd, 33rd.
30 he was born at 33 weeks.
Right.
So, he's born at 33 weeks, but a few weeks before that, I had, cholestasis, right?
Right.
You
Yes.
remember that?
Yeah, yeah,
Itching
yeah.
all over the
I forgot
place,
about that.
and
But now, yeah. Yep.
yes. Um, tired, I mean, I guess that was usual,
That was
though.
normal
That
pregnancy
was
stuff.
normal,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? Um, and
But you was basically leaking black bile salts into your bloodstream.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's what cholestasis is, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Um, and then, what, 33 weeks, he came, Bell's palsy popped up.
Well, you fast forwarding a little
Oh,
bit.
I'm trying to go fast.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Traumatized. Good.
Yeah. Well, it was a lot, right? So the birth of our second one was quite a bit. Um, but you how about we start from the
It's a
actual
lot. That's why it's
yeah. Yeah, I was like, I don't think there's a good spot to start,
it's a
really. It was just like,
lot.
hey, look, he the
My
day we
body
had to go to the
literally was just
hospital.
attacking. Like, the antibodies
Yeah.
was having a field day.
Yeah, they were out. They were getting busy. They were
Yeah.
getting busy. So then we get to a day, random day. Um, it's 32, 33 weeks or whatever. Somewhere is it's somewhere around there. And regular night,
Mhm.
everybody's going up to go to bed. I'm getting in the shower
You were getting in the shower,
and
getting into bed, and I'm gonna go brush my teeth
yep,
and, start having issues brushing my teeth, as if, like I explained to you before, when you brush it or not, when you go to the dentist and you get that Novocaine.
yeah,
Um, that's what happened on the one side of my face, right on the right side of my face. Didn't think anything of it.
yeah,
Went to go lay down just to rest. Had a contraction, and it was a pretty big one. And then all of a sudden, a hard on kick, and my water broke.